Welcome everybody back to Not Funny Guys Presents Red Dwarf. We're doing a Red Dwarf rewatch now. I guess this makes this our season 3. If anything, we've done, let's see, we did Venture Brothers, we did Andor season 1, we did a recap episode with season 2, but we're now kind of returning back to our roots here. So if you are not familiar with Red Dwarf, let me give you a little introduction. So Red Dwarf is a British, it's still going, science fiction comedy program created by Rob Grant and Doug Naylor, consisting of basically a sitcom kind of element to it. Aired on BBC Two from 1998 to 1999 and on Dave TV from 2009 to 2020. I think there's talk of it coming back again. It's kind of like still technically going on. But the basic premise of it is it's kind of a cult following. I watched it on PBS here in America. It probably basically follows a low-ranking technician named Dave Lister, who awakens after being in suspended animation for 3 million years. It's supposed to be 18 months. It was 3 million years. And there's a lot of things. So he comes out of it and he finds out he is the last living human being that's known at this point. It's just him and the ship's computer and his former bunkmate slash frenemy, Arnold Rimmer. So he's basically part of what was the Red Dwarf is the name of the ship he served on. It was a mining spacecraft. And so now Arnold Rimmer is a hologram. And in the first episode, we meet the cat who evolved from Lister's pregnant cat, Frankenstein. And so that actually, in a lot of ways, sets up our first episode very well. Just a little bit of background, I guess, here for some of the characters. So we have Dave Lister, played by Craig Charles. So additionally, we have Chris Berry, who plays Arnold, middle name Judas Rimmer, who was his bunkmate and technically his direct superior. And then we have Danny John-Jules, who plays the cat. Now, we will have other characters that join us along the way. The first episode, titled The End, written by Robert Grant and Doug Naylor, basically has a wonderful little opening it's called The End and it ends with saying the beginning. But the fun part about all of it is that basically it's one of my favorite parts is the opening sequence, because just the opening sequences is the way we come in with this music, this sort of dramatic music to find someone on the outside of the spaceship painting the title of the ship, Red Dwarf, and it's a massive ship. You then follow along it until we get to the end, and then we get the announcement of the episode and all that fun thing. And so we find, like I said, Dave Lister and Rimmer, who I'll refer to as Lister and Rimmer, or sometimes I'll call Dave. But they basically are technicians who are actually, strangely enough and funny enough, the lowest ranking members on the ship. This is something that even gets brought up, is obsessed with moving up in the hierarchy. But what's fascinating is that Dave says that they're the lowest ranking members only because the service bots have a better union than them. And of course, one of the things that Rimmer is very favored of doing, this is where the whole frenemy angle thing comes in, is that apparently he likes to write up Lister. He thinks that somehow this makes him look important to the higher ups, which actually makes him look like he's something else. But he basically says he writes him up for obstructing a superior technician by humming, clicking, and being quiet when he's trying to reprimand him to shut up. And like I said, the service bots have a thing, and they're there to clean, or what Rimmer says they're there to do vital duty or vital service. It's cleaning the chicken soup nozzle on the machine. Something that even the service droids don't have to do. Rimmer is after a promotion, which he flunked out the last time by writing "I am a fish" and passing out. They then meet up with Todd Hunter. Now, this is the only other member of the crew we've seen. They're basically on a narrow corridor. He's going through McIntyre's effects. Now, McIntyre was like, I think, the ship's counselor or something like that. He died. He's going through his effects, and he found all of Rimmer's write-ups. He's basically HR. Makes me think about Toby keeping that file about Dwight writing up Jim. It's very much a Dwight-Jim kind of relationship here. Before there was Dwight and Jim from The Office. This is kind of a very similar relationship where even though they sort of seem to like kind of quasi hate each other, they have spent more than enough time. Instead of being desk mates, they're literally bunkmates. And so apparently while going through the effects, Todd Hunter, who's the first officer, has found this thing, filed 247 complaints alone against Lister. And one of them is actually a mutiny. I'm not going to list all of them. Go watch the episode. It's like a bunch of them. And apparently it comes from him stepping on Rimmer's toe and this pissing him off. Now, it is worth noting here that Todd Hunter says there's 169 crew members and Rimmer and him can't seem to get along. And this is the first use of the term smeghead. Now, smeghead is an interesting term. It is noted as a slang term popularized by this same sitcom, British sci-fi sitcom, that is used to describe a fool or a contemptible person. It's a variant of the other similar insults like S-head and F-head. The word smeg is a fabricated word, likely inspired by smegma, the buildup of secretions under the something gentleman's body part that we're not going to talk about because I hope to one day be monetized. But this is one of those fun ways. It's like when Battlestar Galactica used the term frack as a stand-in for the F word. You know, all that fun thing. Lister calls him that. Rimmer gets offended, turns to Todd Hunter, and Todd Hunter said, "You are one." So he's not getting away. So they now on the bridge, we see the drive room, and they're having a goodbye ceremony for George McIntyre, his funeral. They send his ashes out, what looks kind of like a garbage chute. Then there is a Holly, who is the name of the computer. Basically, they're in the bunk watching this vid, and then they're now being invited to a welcome back ceremony because George is being brought back as a hologram. While this is happening, Rimmer is writing on his arms all the exam questions for the engineer's exam because this is how he plans to get ahead. Is cheap. Of course, he gets called out for it, but he says this is just my way of mastering the skills already at my command. Rimmer wants, of course, obviously to climb ranks. He's not from, say, the right family, the right school. It's very a reflection of sort of an Anglo-British idea that you have to climb the class ladder, and if you're not from the right school or the right people or the right groups, you have to do work harder. He's not really working hard. And then Lister tells him about his 5-year plan, which apparently is to save enough doing 2 more trips, save enough money to buy an island on Fiji, which apparently is 3 feet underwater at this point after some, I guess, disasters. He's going to get a sheep and a cow and breed horses, which he then has to stipulate that he means horses. And of course, this is the whole thing. He said the prices are very cheap, which I imagine they would be. Now we have the welcome back hologram. And of course, there can only be one hologram per ship. And this is where we meet someone who doesn't get a lot of play, but this is where we meet Olaf Peterson, who is Lister's best friend. Now, Peterson is played by Mark Williams. I believe it's Mark Williams. Yes, Mark Williams, who most of you would know. This is a younger version before he became Mr. Weasley from Harry Potter series. So there you go. McIntyre, the welcome back thing, he tells everybody, please don't. Anybody who's more critical to the mission, don't die because Holly can only sustain one hologram. Don't think of me as dead, but someone who is no longer a threat to your marriages. So he's like, don't anybody else, otherwise he won't be the hologram. He's only back as a hologram because he's the most vital person, and Holly can only sustain one. Now, there is an announcement at the end of this that and I feel like this is a bit of an Alien reference, like the original Alien Ridley Scott reference, where the captain says there's an unidentified non-human life form somewhere on the ship. Be careful. It turns out it's Lister's cat. Now, Rimmer, when he wakes up in the morning, he realizes that none of the stuff he wrote all over his body makes any sense. It's all smeared. He's realizing then he has to leave for the exam. He's like trying to play off his panic. Lister gets the cat out. He's feeding Frankenstein. Container under the sink. He's basically holding this little locked up little place underneath the sink. Shows him a picture. The cat is also pregnant. This is worth noting here. Like I said, Rimmer then gets to the test and he finds out that the answers are now smeared as he pulls up his cloak. He finds the ink all over hand, stamps down on the exam, signs his name, stands up and does the really silly salute, and then falls back, passes out. We will see him later when he's being taken away in a stretcher. Lister gets called to the bridge. Dave's on the bridge, and apparently he meets Christine Kachansky. We are introduced to her, and this is the girl he's kind of obsessing over. She's supposed to be part of his plan. They've had a thing, but they're not really, and he's being called in by the captain, and he's getting chewed out for having a cat, an unquarantined animal on the ship. And he's like, what are you talking about? He's like, this. And he holds up a photograph because he was dumb enough to send a photo he had taken of the cat in the old analog way and sent it to the Photoshop on the ship. So he's given a choice, give up the cat or go into hibernation's punishment. He basically gets sent into stasis. Okay. Now, Todd Hunter gives this really elaborate explanation about what stasis is like. I'm not going to repeat it, but it's funny. And then he goes into it, into stasis, comes out, supposed to be 18 months later, the rest of the trip, but no, it's not. Holly tells him it's been 3 million years, sends him to the drive room. Along the way, he finds all these pieces of powder, and at one point, he eats a little bit of them. He comes to find out those are the former crewmates of his. That's what happened to him. They were all killed by a massive spike of radiation, and he seems to not comprehend. This is another emphasis of how stupid Lister is. He keeps being told everybody's dead, Dave. And he can't grasp everybody. He starts naming Peterson, the captain, Todd Hunter, Christine Kachansky. And then, like I said, he finds the dust, he spits it out, and then all of a sudden Rimmer appears as a hologram now. And Rimmer now, why? And apparently, I don't think they actually say in this episode, but it will be said later. It has to do with the fact that even despite them sort of hating each other, they have more interactive time together than anybody else on the ship. And then in a freak moment while walking the hallways, they run into the cat. Now, this is Danny John-Jules. He has evolved from Frankenstein. He's an incredibly vain, freaks out Lister and Dave. They run away. Holly explains that the cat evolved to them. And so he brings the cat back, puts a little milk on the table after trying to put on the floor, and that they're planning to return to Earth. Like this is Lister's big plan. And then when they find out that apparently an entire Christian evolution has happened with Frankenstein, the Virgin Mary, like kind of thing, the virgin birth, and that they renamed Lister Cloister, Cloister the Stupid. And then this is when we end with the closing, the beginning, which is just a fun little play on how we've reverse engineered this. Now, to close out this episode, I would like to read to you the outro music lyrics. Now, the opening theme song does not have music, but the outros does. It goes like this. It's cold outside. There's no kind of atmosphere. I'm all alone, more or less. Let me fly far away from here. Fun, fun, fun in the sun, sun, sun. It's like this weird kind of like, I wish I was somewhere else. That's where we're going to leave it for now. Next time, we're going to pick up with episode 2, Future Echoes. Now, and well, I'll unpack some more of this as go on, but this show goes all the way back to 1988. And I know it's low quality, but they're making best they can do. It's fun. So I hope you'll come along with me some more, enjoy this episode, share my love of Red Dwarf, and we'll continue on. In the meantime, like, subscribe, comment, follow, share. If you want to write to us, we have our notfunnyguys.offthereels@gmail.com where you can write into us directly. Check out our other podcasts. We have the Off the Reels podcast where we talk about movies. We're currently finishing up Kroll, which is my special treat to punish everybody else from 1983. And then we're moving on to the John Wick series, actually, of all things. So fun times. Now, in the meantime, also, there is Wrestling with the Horror of It All. And there's a new one from us, Thinking About Thinking. It's two intellectuals, myself and Dr. Kristen, our not funny gal, talking about funny little things we come across in academics. Period. So I hope you join us, and I'll see you next time. And then till then, keep it not funny.